Welcome back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Mentzel.
And after a long, relaxing spring break, we are back to get you guys more content. We're going to start off with men's basketball. So they capped off their season a few weeks ago at the Summer League tournament, unfortunately losing in the championship game against who? SDSU. 18-0 in the conference. Also having a Player of the Year, Bail Shireman. Man.
I mean, even from a rival, we got to give credit where credit's due. SDSU, this was a very dominant team, and this was a team that was just out there to win. That's all they did all season.
Yep. So let's dive into the tournament. So after NDSU clinching the second seed, they faced Denver for the quarterfinals. In the first half, it did not look promising for NDSU. It looked like Denver had the most motivational speech before the game possible because they came out with fire. DJ Hunt, point guard. And that was one of our keys to the game, that they had to contain him, and he caught fire in the first half.
Yeah, and we made it clear before the game that DJ Hunt was going to be a problem for NDSU, and he was going to be a very dangerous player.
Yeah. I'd say we just weren't being disciplined. They were shooting lights out, and it's like we weren't pressing up on that. So, hey, we gave them space. They took it.
Hey, what you talked about in the heading into the second half, though, you talked about a motivational speech for Denver. I think Coach K may have came in and gave a motivational speech to NDSU at halftime because NDSU played lights out in the second half.
NDSU looked like they became more disciplined. They did step on their shots. Talk about defense. Tyree Edey, man. In this tournament, he really emphasized how good his defense was. During the season, you can kind of see it, but he really emphasized it. Like, I can lock up whoever I want to. And he got on DJ Hunt. I know the coach likes to switch them and see which one is their best player, which player to put Tyree on, but when he put him on DJ Hunt couldn't do anything.
Sam Griesel's offense was very impressive as well. He could do anything he wanted with the ball and pretty much go anywhere that he wanted. 3-point, layups, field goal range, didn't matter. He was just perfect all night long.
And NDSU scored 50 points in just the second half.
It's pretty hard to lose when you score 50 points in a half.
Exactly. They got the dub 82-62. Now they advance to the semifinals against who? My favorite matchup, Oral Roberts. Man, you were hearing the fans in the back of us. Is it going to be another fight? Is it going to be another fight? This game is just my favorite matchup out of all the Summer League teams.
This game was going to be very interesting because there were revenge reasons for both teams. Oral Roberts beat NDSU in the Summer League Championship last year, and then we all know how the NDSU Oral Roberts game ended in the regular season in the Shield Center. So it was going to be very interesting. We knew that heading into this game.
Man, I know you had jitters. You thought we were going to lose. You were like, okay, we beat them 2 games. They're going to come back with some kind of fire revenge. No, I knew NDSU was going to kill them. Listen, NDSU picked up where they left off the last 2 games, and which is pure dominance. I truly think Coach Richmond knows something about Oral Roberts that just, I'm going to beat them. Like, I know the chink in their armor. I know their weaknesses. And how do you get from last season, we lose to them in the championship, we lose twice in the regular season, to now Oral Roberts is struggling to beat us?
It was strange. You know, I got to admit, even I was surprised at how much NDSU just flat out took this game over since the beginning. I mean, they used that momentum for the second half of the Denver game and just kept on rolling with it. And yeah, I mean, I definitely knew it was going to be troublesome. You know, you got Max A-Smith, you got Elijah on that Oral Roberts team. I mean, it's hard to, you know, it's one thing to beat them, but to absolutely dominate them for an entire game, that is something else right there.
It's during the regular season, okay, you're going to have losses, but on a big stage like this, the quarterfinals, and to lose like that, 92-72, 20 points, man, I feel bad. Max A-Smith is an exceptional player. We all know that. McBride is an upcoming player. They couldn't get a shot like half the game. It was just, I don't know. I think we just got their kryptonite.
I mean, they fell behind early, and they just ended up getting desperate with their shooting, and they just could not shoot a three-pointer the entire game, it seemed like, and that was kind of their specialty heading into this game.
So after we got them out of the way, now they advance to the championship game. SDSU is in their way. This was a dogfight, plain and simple. Everybody knew it was going to be a dogfight. We had fans chirping behind us while we were covering the game. You know you guys are going to lose, right? Because 18-0 in the conference speaks for itself. We know that.
And it was going to be just as hard because you were talking about those fans. It was probably 8,000 at least SDSU fans there, and there were probably only about, compared to like 700, I would say, around NDSU fans there. So the home field advantage was definitely with the Jackrabbits that night.
Man, you walked into the arena, all you saw was blue. Our student section was so small. I thought that was going to hinder us because even though my concern was when how does NDSU perform? How does NDSU respond when we go down by deficit and we don't have the help of the Summer League, of the Shield Center, right? And hey, it gets different. They rally back without the help. So I was like, okay, maybe they can do it. But when we walked into the arena and we saw nothing but blue, and they were booing when they were just warming up.
Well, it was just funny because you talk about a student section. Each side behind the baskets was supposed to have their own student section.
Yeah.
Half of the NDSU student section was SDSU students.
Man, I just knew it was going to be a tough time, but they weren't cracking nothing but serious face. Forget about that. It was just lock in. It didn't look like it bothered them at all. So I was happy in the beginning of the game. But then we start diving into the game. NDSU only led one time. It was just we would go cold for a few minutes, fall to 8 to 10 points, fight back. It was just a roller coaster ride, and Sam Griesel was a big part of them getting back up.
Yep, and Sam Griesel was the only reason we took that lead with only 5 minutes left to go in the game, because he got that crucial three. But that lead only lasted for 15 seconds, and then SDSU got the lead back. Now, the issue was, most of this game, we were never down by more than 7 or 8 points. But the problem was, we would get back up within 1 or 2 points, and all of a sudden, say, an offensive turnover or a missed free throw or just some other mistake, and just like that, we were back down by 7 or 8 points again. We had to try to come back again.
And I really liked when the younger guys, I mean, Grant Nelson is stepping up and really fighting, and Malik coming off the bench, Malik Hayes coming out the mids, sinking 2 threes in a couple seconds because they didn't think he could shoot. And that's pressure. I don't care what you say. That is pressure, especially in a championship game. And speaking of rising to the occasion, Rocky Cruiser only had 4 points. Talk about a guy. They talk about the big three: Sam Griesel, Rocky Cruiser, Tyree Eady. Talk about a guy that's supposed to have those points. To perform 4 points, that is unexceptional.
I mean, I guess it is unacceptable, but a big part of SDSU plan was to seem like to take out our big guys on both sides of the ball, especially defensively. The big problem for us defensively, we could not stop Douglas at all. Douglas in the paint just absolutely destroyed our defense. And, we tried so many different guys covering him. None of them just seemed to work.
I remember you saying that brother only had a couple threes the whole season. So
only shot 2 or attempted 2 all season, only made 1 of them.
So all of his points is paint points. And I see why. The moves he was doing, he's really athletic and he knows how to draw fouls. And NDSU was struggling with that man. We had Rocky on him for a few minutes. They changed to Sam Griesel, which I didn't think that was good. Sam Griesel, we just needed. I wanted either Rocky or Grant on him. Some little bit more height, little bit more body. That's what I wanted on him. But seemed like Wilson could dominate either one. It didn't matter. It was his playground.
Yep, and that was a big issue. And, the funny thing is, NDSU actually did an exceptional job overall on defense the entire night. Baylor Shireman only held to 11 points. I mean, how many teams do that? Not many. But the problem was Douglas. Douglas just got way too many points, and there was nothing we could do to stop him.
I agree with you. Overall, they did do a solid job. As far as points, like those crazy threes they were sinking, were players off the bench. If we're talking about just starters, like you said, Baylor Shireman, Player of the Year, 11 points. He was out of the game. He was just, to me, a decoy. He really wasn't. As soon as you get the ball, he'll pass it. So to contain him, that is good. But when you talk about another aspect of free throws, if we would have made more than half of those free throws that we missed, it would have been it could have been a different story.
Yep, and another huge problem, offensive rebounds. There were none at all, non-existent the entire night, and it seemed like it was kind of part of the offensive scheme. Every time somebody attempted a shot, there was nobody under the basket to get a rebound, which seems strange to me.
Go back on defense. They can shoot. If you leave one man open, he's taking that shot. Like you said, they led the country in field goal percentage. So that's I can see why, but we need those points. You see, we're going down by 8 points, 10 points, and then we got to fight back. But ultimately, they lost 75 to 76. It wasn't a big loss, and that's why I think it was so much more devastating.
Yeah, I mean, 75 to 69. It's only a 6-point game, and you talk about some of those mistakes that we made. A 6-point game could easily turn into a victory if you just take away some of those mistakes.
Yeah, man, that CSU got the championship. It was all those blue faces, all those they told you so. It was bad, but now moving forward, NDSU took a big hit in their roster the past few weeks. We got Greasel transferring to Nebraska. We already knew the big three were gonna leave. Tyree Eady also leaving. Rocky leaving. Then we got stuff that transfers that hit us by storm. Malik Harnais transferred. Jarius Cook gone. Another guy, Grayson Haman, transferred. Really guy who just transferred this season to come here is leaving. So hey, I don't right now so far as we have, Bodis Gumberg, who's had a lot of experience this season. Grant Nelson, also another young guy, a lot of experience. Des McKinney. With him, it's just his injuries. He's just got to stay healthy for them to succeed next season. And then, of course, Andrew Morgan, exceptional big man, did good this season.
And yeah, we still have decent amount of players who, and like you said, these guys have had playing time. That's not the issue right now. But what is the issue at this point? No depth whatsoever. I mean, other than these guys, who do the Bison even have anymore? There's really not a lot of players left, and I mean that's going to have to go into recruiting over the summer to get new players or possibly transfers from other schools. That's going to be very important for this team because if they can't do well in either of those, this could be a dark age coming up for the Bison basketball program.
Definitely, I think everybody knows that too, and that's the scary part. You never want to worry, especially the Bison fans, but it seems like a lot of teams in the Summer League are rebuilding.
Yeah, SDSU just lost Baylor Shireman. He's going to the NBA draft. And UND, for the second straight year, lost their best player to a transfer. And ironically, he's going to USD now. So that's got to make the Fighting Hawks a little bit bitter.
Right. Speaking of SDSU, Douglas Wilson is also, he's graduating, so he will not be there. But still, SDSU still has that young team, so they're still pretty good. But as far as, there's still a lot of teams in the Summer League that are rebuilding. So I'm not really worried about NDSU then in that aspect because if everybody's rebuilding, okay, then not everybody's on a clean slate, but we still have a chance and we still have recruiting, obviously. And then switching to women's, unfortunately they lost first round quarterfinals against Kansas City 81-74. Now, in the first half, the Bison were attacking the ball. Heavy Hamlin really took control of the game in the first quarter. Offense was clicking, doing a good job containing McDavid in the paint, which was a key to the game. She only had 2 points in the first quarter. So they did good. Yep,
and also Naomi Onanis as well. We talked about her being dangerous from three. Her and McDavid both were shut down early in the game in the first half, and there was nothing they could do. And like we said, it was a perfect script, and it looks like NDSU was just going to run away with this thing at halftime.
Yep, and in the third quarter, just NDSU started allowing and Kansas City in the paint, starting to emphasize the three-point game also. Casey had an 11 2-point run at one point. It was just NDSU was struggling to get a defensive rebound. And in the last 2 minutes of the quarter, we couldn't buy a bucket. So it would just all come crashing down at the end.
Yeah, it was unfortunate too. And NDSU still had a shot very late in the game. And the game was tied up very late with only about a minute and a half left. But unfortunately, Kansas City got that three-pointer, that very crucial three-pointer. Now, that itself wasn't that big of an issue, but the foul on top of it to make it a 4-point foul, that was a killer right there.
And that's why I want to... The fact that it was a close game and we still had hope, all we needed was a layup. And then for Ananas to make that 4-point play, it just sucked the life out of... I think that was just like, okay, there's nothing we could do. I think they were just done fighting at that point. And yeah, she got that with 21 seconds left, and that was all she wrote. 76-72. Now, in the future for women's basketball, there's a little, Emily Dietz, I think she's graduating. Renea Hopkins, she's entering the transfer portal.
Brian Cobbin, she might graduate as well. We don't know officially what's going to happen with that either. So.
And also Katie Deaton got the inside scoop last week that she either quit the team or was kicked off the team. She's no longer on the team anymore. So that's another guard that's not on the team. So they also got to do some recruiting.
Yeah, and we'll definitely see this. Summer's going to be very interesting, and we'll definitely have to keep tabs on both the men's and women's teams to see what they can do to fix these missing players now this summer.
Yep. You guys definitely keep track of both basketball teams because I think it'll be a wild season next season. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into baseball and softball. Stay tuned.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
One kid, one mentor, plus one moment can unlock limitless potential. 30,000 youth are waiting. Be there for one of them. Become a big today.
At NDSU, we're going to teach you about how to work with people. We're going to teach you about relationships with people and how to manage those relationships successfully, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. We have majors in agricultural communication, strategic communication, journalism, and management communication. We have students who have graduated who are doing all kinds of different things, everything from marketing to writing content to development to career coaching. We also, of course, have people doing more traditional things like news reporter or working for TV stations. The faculty members in our department advise undergraduate students. We think that it's important for faculty to develop relationships with our undergrads. We have an advisory board, and that consists of people in the community who are like local business people, and we try to make connections with those people so that literally we know the person that they should talk to about a job. You can't be in the world if you can't communicate. My recommendation is that you take some communication classes at the very least if you can. Even better, do a major in communication.
And we're back on Bison Overtime. We're going to get into baseball and softball. So starting with baseball, last weekend they traveled to Port Charlotte, Florida to play a 3-game series against Fairfield University, and they swept the series. On Friday, they won 8-2. What's some of the stats?
So some of the stats from that game, Peter Brookshaw had a 2-run home run in the 6th, and Logan Williams also had a home run in the 6th as well, and then Drew Sackett also had a home run in the 7th inning. So 3 home runs overall in the game for them that day.
And then on Saturday, they played 2 games. The first game they won 12-9. What are some of the stats from that game?
This was a very interesting game. Logan Williams and Hunter Kemp had home runs in the 5th to give NDSU a 5-3 lead at that point, but then Fairfield went on a huge scoring run that put NDSU in a 9-5 deficit, and then the 7th inning just absolutely turned things around for the Bison. Jack Simonson had a 2 RBI single, Caden Schwabe had a 2 RBI triple, and Peter Brookshaw had a 2 RBI single, all in the same inning. A 6-run inning in the 7th to give NDSU an 11-9 lead where they would eventually win 12-9.
And in the second game that day, they won 5-1.
The main one there, Terrell Huggins had a 3-run home run in the 3rd, and then in the 4th, Garrett Hill had a flyout, which led to an RBI, and Huggins also was walked to lead to the final run for the Bison.
So NDSU is now 12-8 overall. They're heading into conference play. They have a 3-game series this weekend against Northern Colorado in Colorado. Now, North Colorado was picked 5th on the preseason coaches poll, and we were picked 2nd, with Oral Roberts taking our #1 spot. Hey, NDSU, you think they can get back there, the championship, with Oral Roberts again?
I mean, this is the time now. Non-conference play is over. Now this is where it matters, conference play. And Northern Colorado is a decent test. I mean, they're definitely not a bottom feeder of the conference. They're not top tier, but they're right around the middle where they are a very decent team. So this will be a very interesting series to see what NDSU can do to start out conference play, what kind of momentum they can gain from this beginning series.
Yeah, I think this first, even though it's early in the season, and a lot of people don't like to just scrap early games because it doesn't define you for the rest of the season, but I would say this game, this series, will be a good test to see where we really are this season.
And any conference series is going to matter because all those conference games, they matter at the end of the season. Every single one of them do.
Yep, and then moving on to softball, this previous weekend they traveled to the Capital City Classic in College Park, Maryland. They had a 5-game series and won 4 of them, so they had a successful weekend. They played 2 games on Friday. The first game they beat Binghamton 5-4.
So this one very interesting. The Bison were trailing 4-0 heading into the 6th inning. So very late in the game, 4-0. They might be down out. Carly Gochius hit a single which led to 3 runs on that hit, and then in the 7th, still down by 1 score, Molly Gates hit an RBI double to tie the game, and finally May Cutt reached on a fielder's choice to second base, which led to Gates running in the game-winning run.
Then in the second game, they beat Maryland 3-2.
Des Cardenas had a hit and 2 RBIs, including the eventual game winner in the 5th inning of that game.
And then they also played 2 games on Saturday. Now, the first game, they beat Army 6-5, which was another close game.
Yep, very close. NDSU started that game with a 3-0 lead after 2 innings, but then it turned into a back-and-forth affair, which went all the way into extra innings. Army got a run in the top of the 9th to have a 1-run lead, but then Chloe Woolsdorf got an RBI double to tie the game, and then Army had an error, which led to a walk-off winning error by Ava Turner.
Man, that's got to be devastating.
A walk-off error.
Yeah, walk-off error. Like, what is...
So anticlimactic. You're playing this game for 9 innings. You know, it's like, okay, if you're going to lose, have it on Valley and play a home run.
Right.
No, error.
Yeah, I know. The life was just sucked. You can't even stomach that at that point.
Nope.
But and then they came back and beat Monmouth 6-1.
Yep, and a 5-run 4th inning set the tone for the Bison in that game. That inning had a home run by Emily Baringa and Skylar Padgett, so 2 home runs in that inning alone.
And then the last day on Sunday, they played Maryland, and Maryland got the revenge. NDSU ultimately lost 5-3.
And all the scores for the Bison actually came in the 3rd inning of that game, which put them only at a 1-point deficit at the time. Cameron Maycutt hit a 2 RBI single, and Renea Rudd also had an RBI single, but unfortunately they were not able to get anything after that, which led to Maryland winning.
So NDSU is now 18-13 overall. They also go into conference play. This weekend they play in Vermillion, South Dakota against University of South Dakota. NDSU was picked 3rd in the preseason coaches poll. USD was picked 5th, so this will also be a good game this weekend.
Yep, and the thing we talked about for softball, last year was a strange season for softball. They normally are expected to be towards the top of the conference, but last year was just a very down season for them overall, so this is going to be a very interesting team to watch. How are they going to rebound after last year? Will they be better than last year? And, you know, how are they going to do against their conference opponents? We shall find out. First things first against USD.
And I also heard they're better than what their ranking shows. Even though it's a good ranking, 3rd, that's not bad at all. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of people saying they look very promising this season to get back to that to get to the championship.
And I think they're ranked lower at 3rd because of how they did last season. They were a lower team last year, and you know maybe there's some people out there in the polls who don't quite expect them to be up to where they used to be. But they definitely have the talent to get back up there.
You know, with South Dakota State winning the championship last year, it's only right that they were 1st in the preseason coaches poll, and then you got Kansas City 2nd. So I think that's what the dilemma is. Who is going to get that 2nd spot? Do they deserve that 2nd spot? So we'll see how Kansas City does this season.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to get past those 2 teams because they both are very good heading into the season very well. But the Bison, you know, they got something to prove this year. They have to prove that they belong up there, and these conference games are going to be very important. You know, they had an up and down non-conference. They had that one over in Oregon where they lost 5 of 6 of those games over there, and then they just recently won 4 or 5 in this most recent series. So it's been a very up and down non-conference for them, but now that they're in conference play, the level of competition should be a little more even, so this should set the tone for what the team looks like this year.
Yep, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into track and field, women's golf, NDF wrestling, and a preview of some little football. Stay tuned.
My name is Becky Parker, and I'm a news anchor at WDAY-TV. I graduated from NDSU in 2010 with a degree in journalism, broadcasting, and mass communication technologies, and then I had an emphasis on broadcasting. Principles of broadcast production and advanced broadcast production. Those were favorites because they were the most relevant for career experience. You're calling people for interviews, you're writing an article. It doesn't just feel like an assignment, it's like actually doing it. I was the news director for the first full semester of the Bison Information Network. The BIN advisor here was very much invested in me to actually have a career in broadcasting. He helped me get my internship and my first job. The people in NDSU's Department of Communication are really interested and helpful in getting students the connections that they need in order to get a job beyond school.
kid deserves to go hungry. But try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to GreatPlainsFoodBank.org and donate today, so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
And we're back. We're going to dive into track and field. So both teams start their outdoor track season yesterday for the Raleigh Relays in North Carolina. I know you don't like me saying that word.
Raleigh Relay, yeah, there's a tongue twister for you.
Yeah. But hopefully they can start to a successful outdoor season. Their indoor season, they did pretty good. So see if they can carry it.
I mean, yeah, our sessions were usually pretty long talking about first place winners, so yeah.
Yep. And then switching gears to women's golf, last weekend they traveled to the Red Rocks Invitational in Sedona, Arizona. They placed 10th out of 19 teams. On the first day, the Bison were 7th with 2 rounds of 532 points. On the second day, the Bison carded rounds of 295, 300, and 310 for a 3-round total points of 905.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good day overall for them, and you know we definitely have the stats to prove it right now.
Maddie Herzog led the way, finishing tied for 22nd place, which is it's okay. 3 rounds of 222. Elise Hovell and Lexi Glatt tied for 32nd place. Now those names are always hard.
What about your last one there? Joe Baranchik?
Joe Baranchik came and tied for 63rd place.
And then also for women's golf, Leah Scar, she rounded out the group tied for 83rd. Catherine Monty had 74th place finish, and then Holly Murphy was 96th place.
Yep, so the Bison are back in action at the Golf Week any given Tuesday intercollegiate at the Caledonia Golf and Fish Club in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. You like how I said that, didn't you? And that will be on Monday. Now switching to wrestling, they capped off their season last weekend at the NCAA Championships in Detroit, Michigan. The first day they scored 7 points with a place of 24th out of 69 teams, which is really good. Now on the second day and third day, they got 7.5 points and finished the tournament 34th.
There are some very good teams nationally in wrestling, and you know, especially considering our conference too is a very tough conference. So the team overall in the season finished 10-4 with a 4-4 conference record. So this year was no tragedy by any means. It was a very good season overall by the wrestling team.
Yep, junior Jared Franick ended up with 2 wins and 2 losses, and then Luke Weber, senior, ended up with 1 win and 2 losses.
Dylan Drugemuller, he also had 2 wins and 2 losses, and then Owen Pence had 1 win and 2 losses.
Alrighty, now switching gears to football. Thought it would never come fast enough because I thought we were going to never talk about football for a while. But, you know, as far as recruiting for next season, they have around 15 recruits, and they landed 3 3-star recruits. You know, first one, Carson, another hard name, Hegler, 6'3", 180 pound from West Fargo. Now he's an athlete, so he can, you can switch him up, offense or defense. And then you got Jaquise Alexander, 5'9", 160 pound cornerback from Tampa, Florida, which broke Twitter on in the issue side because that was a big recruit, I guess, and we landed him.
Well, think about one of the last guys we got from Tampa, Florida, a guy by the name of Christian Watson.
Yep. And then we got Makai Collins, 6'4", 205-pound wide receiver from Mankato, Minnesota. Now we got another big receiver. Could he be the next Christian Watson? Or even Zach Mathis without the injuries? We'll see. Now, what are some people that are leaving?
Yeah, we have some crucial players leaving on both sides. We already know about Christian Watson and Cordell Volson. They'll both be leaving for the draft on that offensive side. But on the defensive side, 2 big names that have left, Jackson Hankey and Jasir Cox have both left as well. And we also lost the kicker Jake Reinholz. He is leaving as well. However, though, I don't see these losses as too crucial. Now, those are all very good players, but the thing is, I have seen at all those positions players who are able to step up and take those roles.
Yeah, so as far as like the Jackson Hankeys, like the linebackers, I've heard they have like Oscar Benson taking reps as outside linebacker for Jasir Cox. They're definitely moving pieces to fill that void.
Yep, also at inside linebacker, you got Kubitz, you also got Wisniewski, so you got guys there. Offensive line stacked there, I don't think that'll be a problem. Wide receiver, yeah, we got guys like Zach Mathis, we got Raja Nelson, Phoenix Rolls is coming back. So yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty set at all those positions.
Yep, after this next season, Phoenix Rolls is up. You think he has league potential, or what do you think that previews to?
It's tough to tell. I mean, he's definitely going to have to get more stats this year, but he might be wide receiver 1 now with Watson gone, so we'll just have to see.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
And we'll catch you next week. Stay tuned. Go Bison.